Welcome to our webinar, We Are Resilient, 5 Tips to Help You as You Care for Aging Parents. I hope this webinar will give you some tools and some ways of thinking about this very difficult topic. As we care for aging parents, we know it can be a big challenge, and thank you for joining us today. Before we get any further, I want to just start using one of our skills, which is appreciating others. And I just want to thank you for being you, for handling all the challenges that come up, for taking care of the people around you, particularly your aging parents, just for caring. You make the world better just by being you, and particularly by the care and concern you give your aging parents. Just a little bit about me. I will be the coach for today. I have 2 grown children who are out of the nest, and I have my mother who is 85 here with the walker, and my stepfather who's 96 also with the walker. This was sort of an amazing picture because neither of them have, I think my mother fell shortly after this, but I'm dealing with all the ups and downs of that. And I have helped cared for my father some before he passed, a little bit with my father-in-law before he passed, and of course have many friends and family who are going through the same experience. And I know the challenges that it brings, and I believe that We Are Resilient has a lot to offer. So I'm excited about this opportunity to share our approach with you and see how it can help you as you deal with the challenges. So before we get any further, our mission at Dovetail Learning is to strengthen resilience in adults and children. And our vision is a world of kind, connected human beings. I should also say before we get any further, I will be sharing all the materials after this webinar, both the recorded session and the slide deck, so no need to worry about that. I also want to say that our materials are all open education resources, so if you find them useful and you want to share them with people, fantastic. You can share them all you want. The only thing we need is that you give attribution, Dovetail Learning, so people understand where our materials came from. But you can also adapt them to your community however you need to. That's an open educational resource. It makes resilient skills accessible for all, and it's part of our values at Dovetail Learning. And you can find out more at dovetaillearning.org. So the agenda today is an overview. It's really supporting your resilience as you care for your aging parents. I want to acknowledge the challenges that come, talk about how the We Are Resilient approach can help. We have to spend some time looking at what can get in the way of resilience. Before we're truly our best, most resilient selves, we have to recognize what's getting in our way and then look at some skills about how we become more resilient. So for those of you who like a cheat sheet, we've got a cheat sheet here today. The 5 tips I'm going to be talking about will be noticing your protective patterns and then 4 centering skills. This is just the top overview of the We Are Resilient approach. There's a lot of opportunities, both through our website and if you want a custom opportunity to learn more about the We Are Resilient approach, it can help you in so many aspects of your life. And but today is just a quick overview to give you a few things that might help you today as you get that phone call about what else is happening with your parents, or maybe walk in the next room and deal with your mother or aging father. Before we do anything else, I'd like to do what we use the skill that we use to start almost everything we do. And oops, I hit that. And that is breathing in. I'm going to hit a bell, and the bell is just to remind us to take 5 deep, slow breaths and to think about, just feel what it feels like in your body. We know there's a lot going on for all of us. So just take 5 slow, deep breaths. And that is my gift to you today. Feel the breath as it comes in to your body. Feel it filling up your lungs, filling up your belly. Hold it there for a moment and then push it out. and several more times. Breathing in is a gift that we give ourselves. And we'll talk about it more later in the session, but I just wanted to start with it because it feels so good. It can help us focus, help us give us clarity as we try to learn new material or think about things in a deeper way. So what challenges do we face as we care for aging parents? I'd love to hear yours if you can put some in the chat. I know for myself and those I care about, we faced so many changes in our relationship. At one point, my mother was a confidant. She would share all this information with me. She loved to tell stories. And as she's moved further into Alzheimer's, her ability to do that has diminished a lot. And I spent a lot of time caring for her. And she spends time receiving my love rather than actually being able to be a real participant in our relationship in that way. I know I face, and I suspect many of you also face, many different emotions, things like sadness and frustration that this is happening or what can we do, all the things around it. We might have worry and anxiety. What is the future going to bring? Lack of knowledge. As our parents age, there's so many things that we might need to do for them, everything from hospital visits to assisted living. What kind of place are they going to be in? Are they going to be in our own home? And how can we care for them? What are their finances going to be? What does the healthcare situation look like? The lack of knowledge seems unsurmountable sometimes, which is crazy in the world of internet and all this instant knowledge that we're expected to have. And yet, we haven't learned it yet until we do. And even as we do, there's always more to learn about how to care for these people who may have cared for us as we were growing up. Sometimes we have to pivot quickly. We get that phone call and suddenly we have to, I have to put everything down to deal with mom's fall, mom's trip to the ambulance. They've had an internet situation and they've been scammed by people who are taking their money. There's so many things that happen and we have to pivot. We were planning on doing this today and suddenly care for our parents becomes the thing that we have to do. There can be real financial and time burdens. Suddenly we're spending thousands of dollars on something we didn't even know existed a week ago. Our time can be a huge suck as we deal with mom and dad's bills, or we deal with whatever situation that it comes up. So I don't know if you guys have any others, but I'd love to hear them in the chat if you have these burdens or other ones. So yes, it can be a real issue. So those are some of the points. The other thing I'd like you to keep in mind, this can feel like a real storm that we're in as we deal with these people that we loved and we do love so much, but have so much going on and it can feel just buffeted all the time. And I just like to take a moment to acknowledge there's also a miracle in it. There's a miracle of our own personal growth as we deal with the challenges of aging parents. And there's a miracle of these beings that were once one way and now another way. And the understanding that if we're so lucky, we will also be aging people at some point. So it's both the hardness and the miracle. And just holding both of those sides in our heads at the same time is one of the ways that helps us get through this challenging time. So just to recognize that and be aware of it. Yeah. So resilience, what is it? That's a really important way to start. Resilience is the ability to adapt and respond to meet challenges effectively. It's important to recognize we already are resilient. We all start off with resilience, and just handling the things that you've already handled for your parents. Really, I want to acknowledge the resilience it takes to do that, but also to recognize our resilience will be higher or lower in different situations. We can be going along great with our life. Maybe things are going well at work or other family situations, and we're just feeling really good. We've got things under control. And then we get that phone call or the text that just puts in the, oh my gosh, now I have to deal with whatever. And we can feel completely unresilient at that time. So just to recognize that's really human, and resilience will always be that way. It's going to have its ups and downs. And our resilience can be strengthened through the practice of specific skills. And that's why we teach We Are Resilient, because there are specific things we can do. So when that thing comes at us, we have a better ability to handle it. Also, to recognize resilience is an ordinary superpower. It does not come from rare or special qualities, but from the everyday magic of being human. So when things come at us and we handle it, you can just take a little solace in understanding that you have this ordinary superpower. So what is We Are Resilient? Our one way of thinking about it is just practical skills for managing stress, strengthening relationships, and communicating more effectively. And one thing that caring for aging parents has is all those things. It has the stress, it has the relationship that can really bend and maybe break during all the things that can happen with aging parents, and can also require us to really focus on communicating more effectively, both for ourselves and for the parent or parents we're dealing with, and perhaps siblings if we have siblings in the mix. So this is just an overview to see what the approach looks like. We have various patterns, our cultural patterns and our protective patterns. Our cultural patterns are how we view the world. Our protective patterns, how we react to the world. And we're going to talk about those more in depth today. And then we have our skills. Our skills are how we create the world we want. And today we're just going to look at a few of the centering skills. Just to give you a sense, so this approach has a lot more that we're not going to be talking about today, but you'll have an opportunity to do later if you're interested. We have resilient mindsets of curiosity, choice, and courage. And all of these things together can help us become the resilient people that we want to be. We Are Resilient. How does it work? Well, it can help you with your self-care. It can help you navigate those personal daily stressors that come in, particularly phone, text, whatever, maybe in the next room something happens. It can improve relationships and teamwork. And that's not necessarily just with your parents, but it could be with siblings or other family members that you're also dealing with as you try to navigate all this and mitigate the vicarious trauma that can come in when you hear about somebody else's trauma. Your team care. Your team is all the people who are trying to help you care for aging parents. It might just be you, but it might be a partner, your partner. It might be other family members. It might be other relatives. It might be friends who are involved. It can help you respond kindly with strength-based practices in those situations. And it can help you guide others with resilient skills and awareness for well-being. Part of caring for aging parents can involve all of us together as we do this. So how do we teach the We Are Resilient approach? First of all, you have to become a change agent for yourself. And this involves practicing the skills. We who develop this approach practice it every day. We talk about it on a regular basis, how we're doing. And it's not something now I suddenly have it all. Micro habits are key for that. And also, as we're using it, others can learn from us. Wow, how did you stay calm in that situation when mom was really going off? How were you able to be so positive about that thing I felt really negative for? You can model how that can happen. And then you can coach other people well, using curiosity, compassionate questions, and encouragement. So you're sharing what you're doing with others and they can learn from you. So first, let's think about what can get in the way of resilience. And this is, we're going along, I'm doing my work, and I get that call. The stress event comes in. Mom's taken a fall. What's my reaction? I can move into my protective patterns, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And I hit a peak. Oh my goodness, I'm so upset. What do? I get in the car, I get in the plane, I have to drive, I have to deal with all this. Oh my goodness, and I feel very upset about it. It takes a long time to calm down. We feel really depleted afterwards. And these can come in multiple times a day. There can be something with finances, there can be something with health, there are all sorts of things. Maybe it's just a call from mom when mom is cranky with us, or dad is saying some really neat, nasty things, because that's what happens sometimes with people as they age. We can really lose our cool through all of it. So our tip number one is to notice our protective patterns. Are they helping or hurting? And I'll talk about protective patterns in a minute, but I just wanted to tell you what the tip is so you have a sense of it coming up. So our protective patterns, as I mentioned earlier, that's how we react to the world. These protective patterns are something that everybody has, okay? And they usually emerge when we're children, and they can be part of our personality. They could be learned from our family members. Maybe we've learned them from the very parents that we're trying to care for now. And how we react when we feel unsafe. That unsafety we could feel unsafe because of social, economic, emotional, physical factors, all sorts of factors. Often, for me, I feel unsafe in relating to my parents is because I'm like going along, I feel confident in whatever I'm doing, and then I get an unexpected event. And I feel kind of unsafe because I don't know if I can deal with it. And so it just puts me into this protective pattern reaction. These are the 6 protective patterns that we've named. We have a quiz on our website if you want to go into them further. The quiz is not scientific as much as just a way of thinking about the protective patterns. What is distrusting? What is hypervigilance, hyper caretaking? What is avoiding, defending, or attacking? We talk about all these more in depth, both in our website. We have a lot of resources and in all of our trainings. So if you want to go in and really discover what your protective patterns are and how they're impacting you, I would suggest additional training and additional resources. I'm just going to give you a feel for how that might work today. One of my protective patterns is avoiding. So what is avoiding look like? I might withdraw from a relationship. I retreat to myself, sometimes toxic positivity, numbing, avoiding my emotions, or addictive behaviors. All of those things we can do when we're avoiding. For me, a text might come in from my mom. I have 3 siblings, and so we all share care, which in some ways is a blessing, and some ways gives me a lot to avoid because, oh, there's another bill that needs to be paid. Oh, have you checked the doctor's office? Oh, this, oh, that. So many things to do. And often I just have to put my phone down and I'm like, I can't deal with those things right now. So to me, that's when I'm avoiding it. How can avoiding help? All of your protective patterns will help you at some point. Sometimes it helps because I need to focus on what I'm doing at hand. Maybe I'm going to get a text right now and no, I need to be doing my webinar. Other times it can help me in other ways. Maybe it just de-escalates the situation, creates a safe space, which protects you from harm, or avoids perpetuating previous trauma. At one point we were trying to take my mother out of the hospital and my brother was blowing up a nurse and I need to walk away because I don't want to be in the middle of that and I'm not going to help. So it helped to actually use my protective pattern of avoiding. On the other hand, it can harm, and you can imagine how this plays out. It shuts down access to your own emotions or needs, prevents lasting solutions, creates loneliness, or reduces connection. So our protective patterns of my avoiding, if I do it forever, I'm really going to be in trouble with my siblings and I'm not going to have a relationship with my mom or my dad. So figuring that out is complicated. But the tip itself is just to notice, is it helping or not? Because this is how it can work if you want to manage your stress curve. You're going along, you're feeling centered, the stress happens. I get the phone call about X, Y, or Z is happening. Oh, mother is, just signed a contract for $50,000 for solar that she doesn't need. I notice my protective patterns. I'm going to get really upset. No, that's not going to be helpful. Well, I'm going to choose a resilient skill instead. Prevents me from going to the red zone. Doesn't maybe keep me completely flat, but I don't go as up and I don't go as down. And that can be so helpful when we have all these things coming in like we do for aging parents. So let's talk a little bit about those centering skills that we can use when our protective patterns are not being helpful. Well, we have our centering skills that's how we create the world we want. It gives us personal resilience. And most of the time when we're thinking about resilience, we're thinking about this personal resilience, how we create our world. How can centering help us? Well, if we're curious about it, it can reduce our stress. When I'm feeling centered, when I'm feeling calm, when I'm feeling grounded, I don't feel so stressed. It can improve my well-being, both physical and emotional, for sure. And I can work more effectively. I can come up with solutions. Oh, this has happened with, my dad. This is what I can do instead, right? I can come up with solutions. And it allows me to connect and collaborate. I can feel calm. Oh yes, let me call my brother. We can have a conversation about what's best for mom at this moment. Or let's have a family call, which is always interesting with siblings. Who's gonna bring up what idea and are they gonna agree? But at least if I go in centered, it's more likely that phone call is gonna be productive. So that's what we want for power centering. So here are the 6 centering skills. We're only going to talk about 4 of them today, just for a moment of time. So I'm going to do the 4 that I think are really helpful for us. All of them are helpful, but for aging parents, these are the 4 that I'm using the most. So the second tip is practice noticing myself. And what does noticing myself look like? Well, our tagline here is pause. What's the cause? So when I'm feeling myself agitated or sad or angry or upset or anything else, I can pause. What's the cause? If I'm curious about noticing myself, I think, what am I noticing, sensing, and feeling, right? What's happening in my body? What thoughts, what words am I saying to myself? What emotions are my body feeling? What are my reactions? What protective patterns am I using? What's my state of being? So I might have an incident and I realize, wow, I'm recognizing the words I'm saying to myself is mom's really gone downhill. She's had a real decline. I might be feeling really sad about that. And previously I was going along so much, I never even took the time to notice that because I don't want to. So noticing myself is actually giving yourself time and space to feel the feelings that you need to feel. Part of that is emotions are important signals, and paying attention to those emotions are how we actually can navigate the world more effectively. If we're angry, an important criterion or value has been violated. My brother was angry at the nurse because he really wanted to be with my mom and she wouldn't let him in because of COVID. So he was feeling that she was being harmed, my mom was being harmed, and he had to stand up for her, and that's what made him angry. Frustration, I might need to alter my expectations or changing what I was doing, right? Maybe the frustration was, oh, he needed to change his expectation because he was not going to be able to get into the hospital to see her because of COVID. Maybe we're feeling satisfied. I had a really good visit with my mom last week, and I met my own expectations or goals. If I can feel that feeling, I can understand my emotional signal and I can help process that for myself. So pause, what's the cause is really helpful. There's a lot of science behind all the skills we teach. The science recap for noticing myself, or emotions are signals from our body. They impact our learning ability and social functions, and practicing noticing myself can enhance neuroplasticity and increase resilience. If we want to age well, which I think we do, practicing noticing myself is part of that. What stops me from noticing myself? Sometimes it's easier to just keep going. We're just too busy. We might be afraid of negative emotions. I can't afford the time or energy to go there. I don't want to remember my pain. I don't want to, feel the sadness I feel around my mom because I might have to do something about it and I don't think I can change it. It's still important to notice. Sometimes riding the wave of emotions can be scary, but if we lean in and ride the wave, we learn from experience the wave ends, and then we can walk again. We can be really sad about our parents' decline or really frustrated, but noticing myself helps us pay attention to that, ride that wave of emotions, and then we come out the other side. Just micro practice for all of these in the shower or the bathroom, maybe before or after talking with your parent, while making coffee or tea. Just make a little space for yourself every day to notice myself. The third tip I want to tell you about is practicing breathing mindfully. So breathing mindfully, we did that at the beginning. So we breathe deeply, we feel it completely. And if we're curious about it, it's where in my body do I feel my breath? That's really about feeling it in our bodies. What sensation do I feel? And that changes our bodies. It's amazing. It calms our hearts and we can trust and rest our mind. We did some breathing mindfully at the beginning, and breathing mindfully can change our cortisol. It helps us feel calm. We have self-regulation. Like I said, there's real neuroscience behind this biology. We have this vagus nerve that goes from our amygdala all the way through our lungs into our other organ. And this vagus nerve, we can activate it through breathing with our lungs, and it just calms our amygdala down. It calms our heart down. It calms the rest of our organs. It's amazing that we have this thing that we can do every day in any moment, just calm ourselves down. Breathe deeply, feel it completely. The science is it reduces our emotional reaction. As I said, it calms our nervous systems and it promotes positive emotions. micro practice on the way to work, stoplights, just practice. If you practice breathing mindfully, maybe before or after talking to your parent, when maybe things didn't go like you wanted, it can help you calm down at that moment. Sometimes trying to fall asleep when we have all those worries about our parents in our mind, it can really help. Tip number 4 is to practice letting go. Setting free what burdens me. If we're curious about it, what would be helpful for me to let go of? Often that's expectation. The expectation maybe that my mom's going to walk, the attachment to an outcome, that she's going to be released from the hospital and be okay. The judgment, oh, why is she talking that way? Why is she so angry with the caregiver? Why does she behave that way? What is not in my control? There's so much we need to let go of. Is there a larger value or goal that would help me let go of the issue? For myself with my parents is yes, I want to maintain a relationship with them the best we can, and I want to give them the best time possible in their time left on here on earth. There's so much we can't control, and letting go is recognizing that. Real strength is not in control, it's knowing when to let go. Letting go increases our cognitive flexibility, helps us create new directions. So to just be aware of that. You can't go back and change at the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Maybe you haven't had a good relationship with the parents you're trying to care for. So you can change the ending of that by letting go of all the things that are crowding your mind about the difficult relationship and just focus on what you can do right now with them at this moment. A micro practice for letting go. What can I take out of my shame suitcase and let go of? We all carry around so much shame in our suitcase about all the things we didn't do, and especially in relationship to our parents, especially as they age. There's so much that they need that maybe we can't give it all to them. Maybe we don't want to give it to them. Taking out of our shame suitcase and letting it go allows us to make room for the possibilities of the relationship we have with us now. The last tip is to practice positive reframing. Positive reframing is changing the view for the new you. If you're curious about it, is how can I change the situation? How can I see the current situation from a different perspective? So when I think about my mom, who right now is struggling to get up and struggling to stand, I can say, or she doesn't have any sense of space, she doesn't know where she is, she has no sense of time, I can still say, my mom still knows who I am. And that is a wonderful thing. Reframing is similar to finding images in the clouds. At first, we interpret a stressful situation one way. Oh, my mom thinks she's out in the mountains. She doesn't have a bed to sleep in, which is true. But with some effort, we can reinterpret it in a more positive way. At least she's talking about it with us, and at least she can. We can change mistakes into learnings, someone's negativity into misunderstanding, and we can change our parents' negativity into they're struggling with life, and isn't that difficult? Science recap, it alters our physical reactions, it's empowering, and it involves self-compassion. My favorite way to do positive reframing is to think, what's the most empowering story I can tell myself about this situation? So with my mother's Alzheimer's, to think, wow, she still wants a relationship with me and she still knows me when she talks on the phone. That's empowering. And every step along the way, because I know there'll be more, if I can think of an empowering story I can tell myself about that situation, it can really help. If any of you have questions, I'd love to answer them. I meant to say that at the beginning, put things in the chat. This is all about me interacting with you. One thing I just use a lot is when we're not feeling well, it's helpful to communicate with those around us. And just to say sometimes I'm not my most resilient self at this moment. It acknowledges that this is not going well right now, but that you have a resilient self that you could access later at a different time and be more resilient. And sometimes to think about what pattern can I honor? Maybe I'm honoring my avoiding pattern by not answering the phone. Or what resilient skill can I choose right now? Maybe if I do some breathing mindfully, I can go back in there and have that difficult conversation with my siblings about mom's care that I need to have. Just want to tell you a little bit more about upcoming training options. We have a resilient parenting workshop on April 21st. If you want to get into this work in more depth, I highly recommend Resilience Circles. This one you can join for free still this year, starting May 2nd. It's on at 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. And you can sign up on our website. We also have a lot of other free digital resources and training materials available. So I just invite you to take advantage of them. You can also always email me directly, Meri at dovetaillearning.org, or organization info@dovetaillearning.org. We'd love to talk to you more about how you can learn more about the We Are Resilient approach. So if you have any questions, again, please put them in the chat. Anything that you want to know. I've got one here. My uncle is housebound and my aunt is going crazy as his primary caregiver. How do you suggest I introduce her to the work? That's a really good question. It's challenging, but I would say I would start with the practice model coach method that I talked about at the beginning. We practice it ourselves. So practice using different parts of it, maybe practice talking about your protective patterns. And then you can share it with your aunt authentically and saying, you know, here are my protective patterns. This is what I'm learning, and talk about with her, do you have any protective patterns that you feel are coming up? Or you can talk about various skills. You can talk about how you practice noticing myself, and maybe your aunt needs to practice noticing myself. So you can get the material and all the things that you want from that. I've got another question. Someone missed my name in the beginning. It's Meri McCoy Thompson, and I'm the COO of Dovetail Learning. So love to talk to you more if you have any interest in our work. Another question is, how can I use this with my 87-year-old mom who is in a wheelchair, right? And that's not too far from my mom. She's still walking some, but she's about that age and not walking too much. You can share this webinar. We can of any of our videos. We have like 50 videos on our YouTube channel, and lots of different ones. They talk about our protective patterns. They talk about coaching through various skills. You can choose one thing and say, can we talk about this? The great thing about, even if someone's in a wheelchair, if their mind is still available, there's a lot that We Are Resilient can help. One thing I learned recently, which just seems crazy to me that it took me this long in my life before I figured it out, but I realized I'm going to be learning until I take my last breath. So even if our parents are aging, they're learning, they're trying, they're discovering a new way of being in the world. And maybe they're really frustrated with that as their body deteriorates, or they're frustrated with their finances, or maybe relationships that haven't gone well in their life. And they're learning how to deal with that. That's their new normal. As we struggle with our new normal, they're struggling with their new normal. So I invite you to think about how your parents are learning, how you can help them with your learning and their learning. And I hope to see you in our previous work. I hope to hear from you through email or anything else. And thank you very much for being part of our webinar. Take care and have a great day.